aim of the opponent, destruction. Countless worlds have already come into being through my will, and countless worlds will still come into being, because the work of the return of the spiritual needs these, because everything once fallen spiritual must again be integrated into the process of activity if it wants to come close to me again. And every single world gives this spiritual the possibility to become active, even if my will is determining for the time being and assigns to it the activity, which slowly helps the fallen again to the height. All worlds serve only the one purpose of the return of the once fallen spiritual, and all worlds are therefore governed by my will, they are subject to my law of order, they testify to my love, my wisdom and my power. Nevertheless, their original substance is spiritual that has fallen away from me, thus still belonging to my adversary, but from which I have withdrawn the power over this spiritual at the moment of the creation of these worlds, because otherwise it could no longer rise up from the depth to the height forever. My opponent, however, knows about the endless number of those who followed him into the depth, and this knowledge strengthens him in his opposing attitude towards me, it strengthens him in the belief to be able to dethrone me one day. And it strengthens his hatred because I have wrested a large part of his following from him, which, bound in the works of creation, has started on the path of return. And therefore he does not stop to exercise his destroying influence, that is, to work towards the fact that as many works of creation as possible are destroyed, in the belief that he then frees the bound from it and can take possession of it again. It is not possible for him to work destructively on those works of creation because the power is taken from him. But he exercises his destroying influence in the time, when that spiritual has reached the last stage where it is again in possession of free will, which my adversary has the right to influence because the once fallen spiritual is now to decide freely for me or for my adversary. And during this time he not only seeks to win back the human being himself, but through him he also seeks to seize the still bound spiritual by trying to determine him to destroy my creations what my love let come into being in order to help the spiritual return to me. The enemy's sphere is the earth inhabited by people, and in this area he works in a truly satanic way. People are the target of his activity, because only towards them he can use he has no access to the other works of creation, to the countless worlds in the universe. But he believes that he can still find access to those worlds, but he will never succeed. However, he also transfers his confused thinking to the people. Also these he tries to persuade that they can take possession of other worlds, and he also finds servants who are in bondage to him, who adopt these thoughts and strive for the same as he. He also confuses their thinking and lets them make the most incredible attempts to break through previous barriers in order to explore the worlds that are inaccessible to them. The adversary makes them believe that they can break down these barriers. And he is also listened to when he drives people to research of a completely senseless kind. For all these researches do not aim at any spiritual development and can therefore never correspond to my will. And they will have even less of a destroying effect on works of creation, which are outside of the earth. Precisely because neither my adversary nor man have the right to rule over those creations. Because my will also guarantees the existence of every work of creation until I myself consider the time to have come when its purpose is fulfilled and it can be dissolved again into pure spiritual substance. But the efforts of the adversary will take on a more and more threatening form the closer the end is. He drives the people to attempts, which an end of this earth still accelerate. On the earth those attempts take place, and at the earth itself they have an effect. The goal of the people are the spheres outside of this earth, but what they will reach, that is an obvious proof of satanic influence, because the living conditions on earth change. Harmful air changes are created for humans and animals against will, and the earth itself becomes a source of fire, which will also demand its victims one day. Because the destruction of this earth is my opponent's main aim, and since the people have already fallen prey to him, he will also succeed, but without bringing him the slightest advantage. For he does not win back his followers, but he loses them all the more surely. His aim is destruction of the creations, which I let come into being for the purpose of the return of the spiritual. And through the people on this earth he will achieve a lot, but he will never be able to destroy the other worlds created by me, because he himself lacks the power to do so, and an influence on the spiritual is only allowed to him if he goes as a human being over the earth. And so you can infer from it that also the adversary will not achieve to take possession of the universe. And therefore also not the men who draw up such plans and believe to be able to rule areas in the universe by virtue of their intelligence. They can probably make attempts and develop their attempts more and more, but they will inevitably come to death if they step out of the area of this earth. But this is also the purpose of my opponent, that no creative authority is recognized anymore, that people consider themselves capable of researching to be able to investigate every law of nature, and that the distance between men and me will always increase. He will achieve much, but he will not be able to intervene in my plan of creation and salvation. He will only cause helpless confusion in the thinking of all those who are already in his power and blindly follow his instructions, until finally his work takes such forms that the people themselves put the globe in danger, that they experiment without hesitation and, since I am completely eliminated from their thoughts, trigger an all-destroying catastrophe, which means the end of this earth and every creature living on it. Before that I will still send a serious admonition to men, which alone could let them become aware of the nonsense of their plan. I will send them a warning from the universe. I will bring the earth into a danger which is triggered without human influence is released. I will let a celestial body step out of its orbit, which you humans will not be able to resist, which you are powerlessly at the mercy of, to show you that I alone am the one who rules the world and all creations moving in it. And you could still come to the insight and give up your plan. But you are already too much a slave to my adversary. And so the end will come as it is announced. The earth will be set on fire, and people themselves will give the cause for it, because they follow him who wants to destroy and ruin everything. Amen.